Welcome into FIBA House. We are here with one of FIBA's most decorated Olympic athletes, Miss Sue Bird. Congratulations on being the ambassador for World Cup Germany 2026. But we're still here at the Olympics, so I did want to ask you, you have been going and going and going in basketball, 5 Olympic gold medals, but what about if you had to participate in another Olympic sport, Sue Bird? And I want to give you 5 to choose from,
Ooh.
and I want to know which one you think you would succeed in. So we have dressage, which, let's be honest, is horse dancing, for those of you who have seen it. Kayak cross, which is my new favorite sport on earth.
I
where
caught
you
that.
can hit each other with paddles on the way down. That is phenomenal. Artistic swimming, which is basically what it sounds like underwater. Sport climbing, which is kind of rock climbing. Modern pentathlon, my family's favorite Olympic event, which is a cross of swimming, horse jumping, fencing, and a combined running laser tag situation. And this
Okay.
is an Olympic event that has been in the Olympics since
Like
the first
actual
Olympics.
laser tag?
Actually, it used to be a gun.
Okay.
Now
Oh.
it's basically lasers pointing at things. Which do you think you would succeed in the best? Please say
tough.
horse jumping.
I actually went to horseback riding camp as a kid.
Okay.
So maybe we'll go with
Maybe
the
horse
horse
dancing.
dancing. It's either that or rock climbing. I'll give
Okay.
myself a chance.
Okay. And while we're talking about fun stuff, you guys were on Jimmy Fallon, you and your partner Megan Rapinoe, and you showed the Barbie
Yeah.
that you introduced. And my favorite part was, first of all, you have a Barbie, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
So cool.
And then Megan pulled out her Lego.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
It's
which
a
is
toss-up.
cooler? What do
Yeah,
you
it's
think?
a toss-up. It's tough. Luckily, the Barbie's bigger,
Yeah.
so I've got that going.
You
for
have that.
me.
You got to step on her Lego.
Yeah, the Lego's versatile. I
That's
know we
true.
didn't get to show it, but you can change the face. There's a happy face and an angry face.
You can take off her
Yeah.
head, which
But
I know
my
at
knees
home.
and my elbows move.
Right. So really.
So
There you go.
Toss
I'm
it.
glad that you've thought about this and you have a full scouting report. It makes me feel less dumb for asking this question. I do want to talk about your sport. The next Team USA women's team will be in the World Cup in Germany, but the one we just had at the Olympics, the biggest controversy wasn't about them on the court, but was about who made the team. And what I thought was kind of missing from the conversation was that this is the hardest basketball team on earth to make. If you're a male player and you're in the top 15 male basketball players in the world, you can make the 12-man U.S. roster because at least 5 of those players in front of you belong to other countries.
Right, yeah, European.
But not so much with the women's game, right?
No, I mean it's a gift and a curse, right? It's the reason for the dominance. We have so much talent. We've always said, and not said it lightly, we could probably field another
Yes.
Olympic team, another World Cup team. And so sadly, that always leads to this idea of snubs.
Yes.
It's tough. There's been ones before. Candace Parker is probably the biggest one in my opinion.
Yeah.
In all of USA basketball. But then it always comes down to who do you take off, right? And if you're willing, hey, listen, if you're somebody out there that's willing to pick one player to take someone off to put another on, by all means. For me personally, I look back at all of our Olympic teams, all of our World Cup teams. I don't know who I would take off. And that's kind of, again, the gift and the curse of it all.
So many accomplished players on this Team USA. Diana Taurasi, obviously winning her 6th gold medal. She is the standard. We talked to Brianna Stewart, who won her 3rd, and she said she is absolutely aiming to match Diana's 6th and beat your 5th. And I was wondering
fair.
what the trash talk was.
I mean, Stewie's already got us in the college national championships.
Yeah.
She's got 4 to Dee's 3 to my 2. I always joke when you go back to UConn. Now it'll be when I'm around USA basketball. 5 gold medals. It's like, what'd you
whatever.
do with your life?
Whatevs.
What'd you do with your life? You don't
Exactly.
have 6. But on like a little bit of a more serious note, what I think is so amazing about whether it's 5 gold medals here or Dee's 6th. This gives younger players something to reach towards, right? And in a lot of ways, women's basketball is somewhat young.
Yeah.
Right. Given the WNBA is closing in on 30 years, that's still fairly young. So it's cool to be a part of a generation that got to set a standard that people can try to strive for. So in that regard, I hope everybody breaks 5 gold medals, or with Dee her 6th.
Diana Taurasi, you, Caitlin Clark, there's so many women who are asked to speak on the state of the women's game, the state of women's sports, the state of women. I was so struck by Caitlin Clark and her run through the NCAA tournament. She wasn't just representing herself or her sport, she was representing 20-year-old girls everywhere. And Sabrina Ionescu, when she had the three-point competition against Steph. Steph was asked, hey, what about that funny colored money ball? And she was asked, how did you stand up for women everywhere? What is that like to have to answer those questions and know that answering them is also important, though, right?
Yeah, so it goes both ways. It goes both ways. I think at times because we're athletes, because we're asked questions, we have microphones in front of our face, we're on national television. It's a responsibility you kind of have to take because you have to speak on behalf. Not everybody has that microphone in front of their face. And I think as women in sports, we can represent so many different groups, right? And I think when sports is pushing the envelope, when they're making headlines, it can impact society at large. So it's in some ways, it's a responsibility you enjoy and you love. But the other side of it is you do want to have fun. You do want to play your game. You do just want to go out there and do your thing and not have the weight of the world all the time. But I think when you put it all together and you know the impact you can have, it's really wonderful. It's really wonderful. And somebody has to do it. The generations before us did it. We're standing on their shoulders. And now it's our turn.
Yeah. When you look at Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, what they're doing in the W right now, as someone who loves some good trash talk, what do you think of what's going on with that rivalry?
I love it. I love it. I think basketball in the women's game, we've had rivalries for forever.
Yeah.
You know, we've had competitiveness, we've had trash talk, you name it. It just wasn't getting the looks. It wasn't getting, people weren't covering it. So the fact that these two, they literally stole the college stage, both with their play and their trash talk, and then they're taking it into the WNBA. It's just going to mean good things for the rest of the landscape of women's basketball. So I'm all for it. I think it's great. They've come in and they've taken over.
I know you've had to answer a lot of questions about this moment in women's sports. But what I was interested in is you and I are old enough to remember one of the last really big moments in women's sports was after the 99 Soccer World Cup.
Yeah.
And the country was so energized, and those women were heroines to everyone. And they started the WUSA Women's Soccer League in the States, and it didn't take. And after 3 years, it suspended. How do you think, and how much time do you spend thinking about how we can take advantage of this moment to actually end up with more than the last time this came around?
Yeah, to your point, there have been these pivotal moments, and I think what we've seen is a peak and then sadly some sort of drop off after. We didn't have enough infrastructure, we didn't have enough understanding of how to keep the moment going, and I do think that's what's different about what's happening now. I think we're learning from whether you talk about the 99ers with soccer. For me, obviously as a basketball player, it's that 96 women's team in Atlanta that started the WNBA. And again, it's kind of had some peaks and some valleys. And now, because of those learning curves, I guess, we understand that we have to keep pushing. Now's not the time to be like, oh, we made it, we're good, we're done. Now's actually the time to keep pushing, keep talking about things, keep, for lack of a better, I guess, kind of shaming people. Like, you can't just stop covering it.
Right.
You have to continue to do it. We're not a charity. We're actually a really great investment. And the more we talk about those things, I think this is... this can be something that keeps women's basketball, keeps women's sports in the mainstream.
And fans too, buy tickets.
Yeah.
If you talk about how much you like what's going on, buy the tickets, be there. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.